ready to set up your tower garden? Wait, not yet. There's nothing worse than having a tower garden with nothing to put in it. Say you put this thing together. You're so excited. The children see it working. You plug it in and they're like, are we there yet? It's totally bare, and it's going to be bare for at least a couple of weeks. We have to build up the anticipation for the tower garden. In week 1, your students will grow little seedlings in a container that is only this big. Your class will have 30 seedlings in the middle of winter and it's cold outside. What are we going to do? And aha! That's when you introduce the tower garden. But not quite yet. Week 1 is titled A Fresh Start. And our main question here is that problem. How can we grow fresh fruits and vegetables in the classroom with limited space? Lesson 1 is always science, which is color-coded brown. And here in week 1, it's all about selecting the seeds. The first thing we recommend doing is the pre-project survey, which you'll find in the resources section. It is critical that children complete it, and if they don't or can't or won't, guess what? That is okay, because we've seen children go from I'm not doing this in the beginning to can't wait to do it in the end. And you're going to be able to tabulate the data and see for yourself. For the first question, time it. Then ask them, how many vegetables can they name in 90 seconds? And only give them 90 seconds to do it. Some students get competitive. Some students can't name any. The rest of the page is all about behavior. We want to track your students' progress over time, from not eating fresh vegetables to keeping track of how many servings of fresh produce they're eating daily. I want to see, over the course of the program, how many of your students go from 0 to 5. The survey also measures what they know now versus what they'll know at the end. In Appendix 2, you'll see the answer guide for the survey, and you'll be able to tally how your students responded. It's important to get all your data now so you can measure their successes. You'll be thrilled, and so will they. The next important task to do is the KWL chart, which stands for what I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned. If you haven't done it before, there's a link on the curriculum with an example of what it looks like filled out. This gives your students a chance to take inquiry into their own hands, consider what they bring to the lesson, and what they want to get out of it. And at the end, what they took away. With your class, you'll choose the things you want to grow and hopefully the things you'll get to eat. Some of them may know about vegetables like kale or gourmet lettuce, but some of them may have never heard about kale at all. Many have no idea how to grow anything. Now, we'll move on to the math lesson, which is color-coded blue. Week 1 math is all about measurements, basic tools your students will use in order to take care of their plans. Then we'll talk about the types of measurements they'll be using and get them to start thinking about the differences between volume, distance, and weight. I like to get them thinking by mixing up the measurements. For example, would it make sense if I drank 2 miles of milk? Lesson 3 is the language arts lesson, color-coded orange, and we'll be starting our plant journals. This is critical not for students to record data and keep track of their plants, but to really express themselves creatively and start thinking critically about what they are growing. The keys here are observation, vocabulary, reflection, and key learnings. If they're not great at writing, they'll get better and can even use drawings to express what they can't in words. I've included plenty of prompts for what they can write about in their journals. The key is to always tie it back to the theme for the week, which, remember, is how do we grow plants with limited space in a classroom? We want students to understand the thinking behind their answers. They can also get creative about how the journal will be made, what their covers will be, what materials they'll use. Check out these links for ideas students can use to decorate the covers of their notebooks. Now, something we're big about in this curriculum is grading rubrics. You'll see that there's a rubric for everything, from journal entries to letter writing, creativity to persuasive writing, debating to lab reports. These rubrics transcend all subjects and topics, great for every classroom in the school. There's also the same way for both the teacher to evaluate and for students to self-evaluate. Rubrics have 5 criteria with 4 scores, so it's all out of 20 points. Best of all, by design, the students tend to give themselves lower scores than the teachers do, operating under the premise that they are growing vegetables. This allows for teachers to be heroes and celebrate what students have learned, facilitating more positive interactions in the classroom. A growth mindset. As I mentioned in the last video, I really love the Digging Deeper section, as it allows students to follow their own interests and follow tangent after tangent in pursuit of their inquiry. Each week's Digging Deeper section provides some examples of topics and themes to follow up on. Here are some of the supplemental lessons for week 1. Students can take the vocabulary they've learned and create a vocabulary wall for visual assistance, themes, and interactive presenting. Interactive journals are a great way to teach students about the value of keeping notes that work for them. Now for my personal favorite, seeds. This is a great opportunity to pull out your microscopes and take a closer look. Get out your colored pencils or crayons and have students draw what they see. Look for additional images online and compare notes. If available, have students use computer programs to scan, label, and color in their diagrams. Students can look into rock wool, the growing medium your plants will grow in, how it's made, and why sometimes it causes students to feel itchy. I've even included some ways to work in the kitchen. Hopefully from this chapter, you'll understand how robust these resources are. These will be more than you bargained for. Spend time to plan and orient yourselves on all of this content. You may want to do all of it, or you just may want to do some of it. It's up to you. But I highly recommend do the heavy lifting up front and figure out where you want to take it. Next up, week 2, where we'll finally pull out the tower garden.